To give you an idea of what I do professionally now is I do art lessons. I have several private students currently. All right. I do art shows. I had a really successful, gorgeous sculpture show, which was a first. Um, I do commissions. I do a lot of online projects for graphic novels, graphic designs, commercial art. So I do a lot of that. When I occasionally wonder what makes me an artist, why do I keep coming to this, to drawing and painting and creating? I'm often reminded of a famous quote by Friedrich Nietzsche, a German philosopher, known for being, I believe, the grandfather and the father of existentialism. And he wrote, "What lies dormant in the Father lives in the Son." And the reason I feel that kind of, you know, I'm bonded to that quote a little bit. I'm sure there's other aspects to my life, but the reason for that is that my father, when he was young, his teacher noticed his art, and he had an opportunity to go to an art school that would kind of, well, a better school that would, give him more art classes that he could follow in that path, and he was just in a little village in Romania, and his parents thought it was too great of an effort. They didn't have cars then. This was the late 50s, early 60s, and so they passed on it. I think they just shrugged it off and passed on it. And he, I believe, deep down, always wondered what it would have been like if he would have pursued art. I started drawing Big Boss while I was still in high school. It was early high school. I started to develop the character, and I used him as a way to get out my teenage angst. So I would often read poetry. I love the Romantics, Byron and Shelley, and Poe, and I would sometimes draw him next to poetry, or I'd draw him kind of just smoking and being depressed and drinking and things like that, because it was really a reflection of what my dad was going through. So I was dealing with that, and and then with a friend of mine, an artist friend of mine, I decided to publish, um, him into some sort of comic, because I was writing poetry and dabbling in that. I was in a creative arts art high school, and so he put together a 5-page story. I put together a separate 5-page story, and then we got a teacher, our art teacher. She really loved that we were kind of ambitious, and she printed on the school copier 50 issues of our comic, and yeah, I mean, she snuck us in there, and she did it for free. So so then we distributed it through the school. I think we might have charged $1, just to seem professional, and that would buy us coffee and cigarettes. We're teenagers. We were smoking and drinking coffee, of course. So I finished the second chapter of my story, and I was working on the third, and then eventually I just decided to wrap it up myself and print it myself. So I did that the old-fashioned way. This is 1996, and I saddle stitched it. I found a printer that could save me costs by me, uh, printing it myself, just using the Xerox and saddle stitching it and everything. So not much has changed. I sometimes often work with printers like that still, and it's great. I mean, I have a great rapport. So I got a good deal, and I print them, and I printed 50 copies, and then here I am, like a teenager. I was 18, and then I distributed the comic throughout the city. I walked up and down Bank Street in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and there were a couple of comic shops there. Some teachers bought some copies, and friends, and I got rid of them all. I don't know how many still exist. It was a pretty shabby sort of deal, um, very underground. But that's essentially how Big Boss started. A few years ago, I started a 5-issue miniseries with my Big Boss character, and I worked with a writer that I'd met online, Ryan Brandt, and he was very helpful in kind of fleshing out the story and my characters, and we created that miniseries. So now that's completed, and it's out as a trade paperback. It's a 130-page full story, and with a featurette short story at the end. And it's called Big Boss Gun for Hire. It's on Amazon and the Comixology and so forth. So from that, I had the idea to create a short live-action film based on the short story that was at the back of that graphic novel. And we elaborated on that with Ryan and I, and we wrote the script, and we fundraised on Indiegogo, and we were moderately successful on that. And I self-funded a lot of what else was needed to make it happen, and it was a phenomenal experience. And I had a client, luckily, that was an accomplished actor, Stephen Brody, and he was in The Lone Ranger with Johnny Depp and several other independent features. And I employed him to come down and act as Big Boss, and he did a phenomenal job. We've screened the film several times. It's premiered in New York at a film festival there, and I'm very excited about it. Now I want to continue the Big Boss strip right where Gun for Hire left off, and I want to do it on a daily basis, 5 days a week, and I want to create something. I want to create something unique and neat, and my tastes tend to be very classical. I love the foundations of the art form. Obviously, Will Eisner, Joe Kubert, their graphic novels. I'm a big fan of Lone Wolf and Cub. So these are things that I want to deal with, like style-wise in the graphic novel, and I want to do something unique with the format because I'm publishing it uh, online to my supporters and followers, and everything's going to be in a square format. So you know, I just want to see what I can do with that. And it will start out very kind of traditional, but I have some interesting plans for the storyline and for the formatting. So I really hope that you guys come along for the ride and support me in this endeavor. And really, essentially, it's for you guys. So a lot of great rewards, everything from obviously chats and updates, tutorials along the way of of how the progress is going. I like to kind of take you through inking processes, even earlier stuff like writing and storyboarding, without giving away too much of what's coming up. And and then I'll do some mail outs too, some signed rewards, signed products like books and posters and other merchandise as it comes in. And what else? Um, oh, I want to do something fun, and hopefully you guys are interested too. Is to do coffee with the artists on weekends. I think that'll be really nice. I like to kind of do different activities on the weekend, and I like to take you guys along for the ride, and we could chat art and kind of I don't know, just have fun really and interact. Um, so one of the other things also that I like that is just updates with the Big Boss film. So, we've shot the short live action film, which was called Big Boss Night Out, starring Stephen Brody, and now we're pitching it for further development. I'd love to see this grow, as we grow and to develop it into something, I don't know, popular perhaps. So here's to hoping. But first things first, I want to just create a great product for you guys, and with your help and together, we can really create something new and bring the art form into comics that used to exist.